The council hall floated in the heart of a massive station, suspended in a quiet part of space far from any sun. It was a place where hundreds of alien species gathered to make decisions that shaped the galaxy. That day, the hall was full. Tall, insect-like beings stood beside short, stone-skinned diplomats. Feathered envoys whispered in cliques and songs. Gas-dwelling giants hummed in deep tones that shook the air. All eyes, all ears, all minds were fixed on one glowing image above the center table. A small blue world, turning slowly, its white clouds drifting like gentle breath. Earth. The word itself carried a taste of curiosity for some, greed for many. The speaker of the council, thin creature with eyes like black glass, raised its three-fingered hands. Silence fell. "We have reached the final motion," it said, its voice amplified through the air and into the minds of those who listened. "Shall Earth be taken under council control for resource protection and cultural guidance?" The words sounded polite, but everyone knew what they meant. Enslavement, forced labor, stripped freedom. Many worlds before, this was the same. Story of the council claimed it was for protection, but it always ended in chains. One by one, the votes appeared in the air as glowing symbols. Species after species agreed. The Trivax voted yes. The Jurox voted yes. The tall, elegant Tyrians hesitated for a moment, then also voted yes. When the last vote was counted, the result was displayed in cold, white light. Approved. A quiet ripple moved through the hall, not of surprise, but of satisfaction. Earth was young. Earth was alone. Earth had no real fleet, no seat in the council, no allies to call for help. The decision was final. Far from the council station, in the deep black between the stars, the slave fleets began to move. Massive carriers, their hulls black as the void, adjusted course toward the Sol system. Inside their armored bellies slept rows of stasis pods, ready to hold human captives. Automated drones prepared the shock collars and mind control implants. The captains discussed how many humans would be sent to the mines, how many to the factories, how many to fight in the council's endless border wars. To them, Earth was already theirs, but on the far side of the moon, hidden under layers of rock and false signal beacons, something stirred. Deep within an underground hangar, an enormous metal door groaned open. Cold light spilled over the hull of a ship that should not exist, a human war station, larger than anything the public had ever seen. It had been built in absolute secrecy, decades ago by a hidden branch of Earth's defense network. No government claimed it, no records showed it. Systems had been sleeping for years, waiting for a single coded signal to wake it. That signal had just arrived. Inside the station, rows of sleek ships powered up. Lights flickered on in empty corridors. A soft, steady hum filled the air as reactors came alive. In the command core, a sphere of shifting blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. This was the station's AI, an intelligence older than most human leaders. It's designed for one purpose only: to defend humanity from threats beyond Earth. Its voice, calm and without emotion, echoed through the empty halls. Threat level: severe, mobilizing assets. Objective: no human shall ever wear chains. On Earth, people still lived in peace, unaware of the decision made light years away. Children played in city parks, markets bustled with noise, lovers walked hand in hand along beaches. The sky above them looked the same as always, bright sun by day, stars by night. They did not know that fleets were already coming, carrying the tools of their enslavement. They did not see the shadows moving in the dark. The war engines waiting to meet those fleets head-on, back in the council hall. The speaker gave the final order to the slave fleet commanders: proceed without delay, secure Earth's cities, neutralize resistance, and transport the human population to designated labor worlds. There was no doubt in its tone, no thought that Earth might refuse. They had seen hundreds of young worlds fall before, and every time it had been the same: a brief fight, a quick surrender, future in chains. But Earth was not like the others. As the alien fleets crossed the black between the stars, their long-range sensors began to pick up strange signals. A burst of encrypted data here, a silent energy spike there. It was easy to dismiss, perhaps static, perhaps a trick of space. None of them realized those were the first signs of Earth's hidden defenses coming to life. Inside the moon's secret hangar, the first human stealth cruiser rose from its dock, silent as death, disappearing into the void. Then another and another. They did not broadcast their presence. They did not announce their intentions. They simply moved into position, waiting. The human commander, a woman with steel-gray eyes and a voice that carried the weight of command, stood in the heart of the station's war room. Around her, holograms showed the alien fleets, the Earth's orbit, the dark between. She knew the odds. The Council's fleets outnumbered. There's many times over. But she also knew something the Council didn't. Humanity had never once fought a war to surrender. She leaned forward, her voice quiet but sharp as a blade. We hold the line. We make them regret their first shot, and we make them fear their last. Far away, the alien fleets kept coming, and in the space between, the trap was already closing. The first alien ship crossed into the Sol system in total silence. Its black hole reflected nothing, its shape like a blade meant to cut the dark itself. Behind it, dozens more followed, fanning out in formation. They moved with the confidence of predators that had never been challenged. Their scanners swept the planets and moons, taking in every detail. Mercury, lifeless and burning. Venus, choking in poison clouds. Mars, quiet and empty. But when their sensors reached Earth, they saw the bright lights of cities, the heat of life, the movements of billions of human bodies. The commanders saw opportunity. From the bridge of the lead vessel, Commander Razik of the Trivax Confederacy watched the blue and green planet spin slowly on the screen before him. His thin mouth curved into what passed for a smile among his species. They have no fleet, he said to his second officer. No defense platforms. Their satellites are weak and outdated. This will be simple. Ground him. Alien officers murmured in agreement. They had studied Earth's public transmissions for years. Humans were reckless, emotional, and divided. Easy prey. But as the fleet approached, something didn't match the reports. Many of Earth's orbital stations were gone. Old satellites had vanished from their known positions. Even the International Space Station was missing. Sensor officer frowned. Commander, their orbital infrastructure is lower than expected. Our scans show gaps. Razik waved the concern away. Perhaps they've abandoned old technology. No matter. It will make our work easier. On the far side of the moon, hidden from alien eyes, a human stealth cruiser waited like a shark in deep water. The ship was matte black, its surface absorbing all signals, its engines running so low they barely stirred the void. Crew stood ready. Every console glowed with quiet light. The captain, Marcus Hale, sat forward in his chair, watching the alien fleets approach on a holographic display. The alien ships were huge, far larger than any vessel Earth had publicly launched. But size wasn't everything. Hale's ship had weapons the galaxy had never seen weapons. No one outside the secret program even knew existed. He gave a single order: bring us in close. No broadcasts. The cruiser drifted through the dark, closing the distance without a whisper. The alien fleet didn't even know it was there until it appeared point blank, right in front of Razek's flagship. One moment the black was empty, the next it was filled with a sleek, angular ship that seemed to appear out of nothing. On the alien bridge, alarms screamed. Officers shouted in panic. Razek leaned forward, his mandibles twitching in shock. Identify. That vessel? The sensors replied with only one word: unknown. A channel opened. The voice that came through was human, deep, calm, and edged with steel. This is Captain Marcus Hale of the United Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. You will reverse course immediately. Razik blinked, then laughed. A harsh, chittering sound. You have no authority here, human. We're the Galactic Council's fleet. We're here to secure your planet. Stand down and prepare for boarding. Hale's voice did not change. No, this is your first and last. Warning, turn around. Or don't. The channel closed. Razik turned to his gunnery officer. Destroy them. The alien flagship's weapons charged, energy flaring bright, but before they could fire, the human cruiser moved. It was faster than anything Rozek had ever seen. In a flash, it rolled under the alien's line of fire, and its own weapons came alive. There was no beam, no laser, no missile. Just a sharp, invisible pulse. A second later, one of Rozek's escort ships simply exploded, torn apart by kinetic slugs moving at a fraction of light speed. The alien bridge fell silent for half a heartbeat, the crew staring at the debris on their screens. Then chaos erupted. More human ships appeared from nowhere, one on the flagship's port side, two behind the fleet, another directly above. It was as if the void itself had opened to release hunters. Every ship was different in design, but all shared the same black signal-absorbing skin. Hale's voice came again, this time broadcast to the entire alien fleet. You thought you were the hunters? You were wrong. The aliens fought back, but they couldn't hit what they couldn't track. The human ships moved like shadows, vanishing and reappearing, striking from impossible angles. Alien shields flickered and failed under precise impacts. Entire fighter wings were wiped out before they could launch a counterattack. And yet, despite the destruction, the humans did not target the flagship directly. Hale wanted Rozek to watch, to see his fleet cut down, piece by piece, till the truth became clear. Earth was not going to surrender. Back on Earth, the first alien transmissions were intercepted by human intelligence teams. Fragments of panicked voices came through. Unknown enemy, fast weapons, unknown fleet compromised. These recordings would never reach the Council intact. The humans made sure of that. On the alien flagship, Rozek stared at the holodisplay, showing his burning fleet. This was supposed to be an easy conquest. Now, with every passing second, it was turning into a nightmare. He realized something. In that moment, something he would never admit to his superiors. They had not come to enslave prey. They had stumbled into the territory of predators, in the black void between worlds. Hale's ships vanished again, slipping out of sight as quickly as they had appeared. The surviving alien ships limped toward each other, forming a tighter formation, their crews shaken. Somewhere out there, unseen and silent, the humans were still watching, waiting for the next move. Rozek clenched his claws. "Send word to the Council," he said, his voice low. "Earth is not what we thought it was." But by the time the message left his ship, human jammers had already cut it off. The Council would hear nothing, not yet. In the shadows, the hunt was only beginning. The alien fleet had regrouped near the orbit of Saturn, their ships forming a defensive sphere. The commanders believed the humans had withdrawn. They hoped the strange black vessels were few in number and could be outlasted. But every alien officer on those bridges carried the same shadow in their mind, the way those ships had moved, the way they had struck without warning. In the darkness beyond their scanners, the humans were already preparing the next move. The stealth cruisers had not retreated. They had only melted back into the void, circling the alien fleet like wolves around a herd. Captain Marcus Hale stood at the center of his war room, watching the glowing holograms of enemy positions. "They think we've gone," he said, his voice calm. "Let's remind them we haven't." The order was given, and the cruisers split into attack groups. One team slipped past the alien perimeter, targeting supply vessels hidden at the edge of the formation. Another group dove straight into the fleet's center, using speed and sudden turns to avoid enemy fire. No battle drums sounded, no warnings were given. The first alien ship to die never saw its killer. From the perspective of the alien crew aboard the Vraxer, it happened without cause. One moment their screens showed clear space, the next moment the entire front of their ship erupted. In a flash of molten metal, a kinetic rod fired from beyond visual range, to pierce the hull with impossible force, passing through decks, reactors, and crew, before punching out the far side. There was no explosion, only a silent, devastating wound that tore the vessel apart. In seconds, chaos consumed the alien formation. Ships broke position, trying to chase shadows that didn't exist. Every time they turned to face a human ship, it was already gone, replaced by another strike from a different angle. Alien shields, designed to counter energy weapons and plasma fire, were useless against the humans invisible. High-speed projectiles? From the bridge of his flagship, Commander Razik shouted orders. Lock onto their engines. Cut their stealth. But his gunnery crews could barely find a target before it vanished. His species had fought hundreds of wars, but never against enemies who refused to stay where they could be hit. The humans fought without broadcasting threats, without speeches. The only sound that broke the alien comes was a single repeating signal, a low, steady pulse like a heartbeat. Some alien officers thought it was a taunt. Others thought it was some kind of countdown. In truth, it was the humans' way of marking each confirmed kill. One by one, the alien escorts fell. In under 15 minutes, more than a third of the fleet had been destroyed or disabled. Those still intact began pulling back, drifting toward the safety of Jupiter's shadow. But the humans did not let them go. A swarm of small, unmanned drones, each no larger than a cargo container, detached from the stealth cruisers and rushed into the alien lines. The drones moved too fast for point defense to track, latching onto enemy hulls before detonating in silent flashes that tore through armor like paper. In the middle of this storm, one alien captain made a fatal mistake. The Icarus fired blindly into the void with its main plasma cannon, hoping to catch a cloaked human ship. The shot missed entirely, but it gave away their exact position. 2 seconds later, 3 human railguns answered from different angles, punching through the Icarus. In perfect sequence, the ship folded in on itself, splitting into 3 burning fragments before drifting into Saturn's rings. On Earth, secure command centers received live feeds of the battle. Military leaders who had been told humanity's defense fleet was limited now watched in disbelief as alien warships, each worth more than a city, were cut down with precision. Civilians knew nothing yet, but the president had already been briefed. The council has come for us. They are losing. For the aliens, the shock was worse. They had expected resistance, but not annihilation. Ships that should have lasted hours in battle were gone in seconds. Commanders who had laughed at the thought of human war were now screaming orders to retreat. But the humans gave them no clean escape. At one point, Razik's flagship found itself alone, its escorts gone. On his display, a single human cruiser appeared, hovering in the void less than 2 kilometers away. Its hull gleamed faintly as if it were lit from within. Slowly, deliberately, it rotated until its forward railguns aligned with his bridge. Razik froze, waiting for the shot that would end him. Instead, the cruiser simply transmitted a short message. You will leave.
Are you right?
We'll tell them. It vanished into the black dot. The meaning was clear. This wasn't just about defending Earth's orbit. The humans wanted the survivors to carry the story back to the Council, a story of terror, a prey species that did not run. By the time the first alien ships reached the edge of the Sol system, limping and burning, the battlefield behind them was littered with the wreckage of their fleet. Thousands of escape pods floated among the debris. The humans rescued some, not out of mercy, but because they wanted answers. Those alien prisoners would learn the same question every other survivor would hear. Why did you think we would kneel? The Council had sent a fleet to enslave a planet. What returned was not a victory force, but a handful of terrified ships carrying a warning the galaxy would never forget. And far from being satisfied with the victory, Captain Hale stood in the war room, looking at new holograms of alien supply routes and forward bases. We've defended our home, he said quietly. Now, we take the fight to theirs. The first strike was over. The real war was about to begin. The Council had never received such a report before. At first they thought it was a mistake. Garbled transmissions, false data, maybe even sabotage from rival factions. But as the surviving alien ships limped into friendly territory, the truth became undeniable. The fleet sent to enslave Earth had been torn apart. Out of more than 80 vessels, less than 20 had returned, and most of those were damaged beyond repair. The commanders could not agree on details. They all described the same nightmare. Human ships that appeared from nowhere struck, with invisible weapons, and vanished before they could be tracked, in the council chambers. The debate turned from arrogance to alarm. The Trivax representative slammed his claws on the table. demanding an explanation for why their warships were destroyed by what was supposed to be a primitive species. The Durock's envoy hissed back that perhaps the fleet commanders had been incompetent, but the Tyrian delegate, always quiet before, finally spoke. We underestimated them. We sent the wrong kind of fleet. Thought they would fight like the others. They didn't. All the council argued. Humanity was already moving. The alien survivors who had been captured during the battle were not tortured or humiliated. Instead, they were treated as prisoners of war under strict rules, but that did not mean they were spared fear. Every prisoner was taken to a small, silent room and asked the same question by calm human voices. Why did you think we would? Kneel. For many, the question was more terrifying than any weapon. It forced them to face the truth. The council had expected easy prey, not predators that fought for every breath. Some prisoners refused to answer. Others broke quickly, revealing fleet positions, supply routes, and the location of forward bases. This information was fed into Earth's hidden war network, and within days, new missions were launched. Human stealth ships began targeting the enemy in ways the Council had never seen before. They didn't just strike fleets, they struck the lifelines that kept those fleets alive. Massive alien fuel stations in deep space went up in silent fireballs. Communications relays between sectors vanished into debris. Cargo convoys carrying weapons and food simply never arrived. For the first time in centuries, alien commanders began rationing supplies in the middle of a campaign. Soldiers on distant worlds found themselves without replacement parts for their weapons. Patrol ships reported being shadowed by unknown vessels that never responded to hails, but always disappeared before they could be intercepted. Rumors spread like wildfire through the alien ranks. Rumors of human ghosts in the void, always watching, always waiting for the perfect moment to strike. On one border world, a squadron of Council warships received a distress signal from a supply base. When they arrived, the base was gone. Not destroyed, gone. Every structure had been dismantled, every piece of equipment taken. Even the command building's foundations had been ripped out. All that remained was a single message carved into the rock. We are coming. This was no longer a war for territory. It was a war for the mind. Humanity had learned quickly that fear was as powerful as any weapon. Every alien commander who went to sleep wondered if a human strike group was already hunting them. Every convoy captain imagined black shapes moving just beyond the edge of their sensors. Every council strategist began shifting forces away from the Sol campaign, desperate to defend their own home systems. But Earth's leaders were not satisfied with defense. In the underground war room, beneath the moon's hidden station, Captain Marcus Hale stood before his officers. Massive holographic map of the galaxy rotated above them, hundreds of points of light marking council supply hubs and key fleet routes. Hale pointed to a cluster of systems deep in council space. These are their fuel arteries. Cut them, and their fleets choke. No fuel, no war. The plan was put into motion that same night. Human ships that had never been detected before began. Striking hundreds of light years from Earth, they moved in small groups, hit their targets, and vanished before the enemy could respond. Stations that had stood for centuries fell silent overnight. Trade routes collapsed. The Council's panic grew so great that they began recalling fleets from active wars against other species, weakening their grip on far-off territories. Even worlds that had been loyal to the Council for generations started questioning their leaders. If Earth can resist them, alien civilians whispered, why can't we? Small rebellions began breaking out in corners of Council space. Meanwhile, the Council tried to send peace feelers toward Earth, not true peace, but offers to end hostilities in exchange for trade agreements that would place humanity under soft control. Every envoy was ignored. The humans did not answer their messages. They wanted the Council to feel helpless, unheard, and hunted. By now, alien commanders who had once laughed at the thought of fighting humans were giving orders with trembling voices. Patrols were doubled. Convoys were triple escorted. Still, the human strikes came. Each attack seemed perfectly timed to hit when the enemy felt safest. Back in the Council chambers, the arguments turned to desperation. If they continue like this, One delegate said. We will lose the outer systems within the year. Another replied bitterly, within the year. We've already lost control. They are inside our space, and we don't even know how many ships they have. In the dark reaches of space, a single human cruiser drifted near a massive alien supply convoy. Its captain waited until the convoy's escort ships were at their furthest patrol point, then gave the order. In less than 2 minutes, every fuel ship in the convoy was destroyed, leaving the warships stranded. The human vessel did not linger. It left behind only a silent, pulsing signal, the same heartbeat the aliens had heard during the first battle. Near Saturn, the message was clear. The humans were not defending anymore. They were hunting. The once mighty fleets of the Galactic Council were shadows of their former power. In every corner of space, their warships limped home on damaged engines or floated dead. Abandoned by crews who no longer believed in victory, the humans had done something no species had achieved in centuries. They had shattered the illusion of council. Dominance. World after world that had once obeyed without question now stirred with unrest. On the industrial moons of the Trivax, workers refused to load cargo bound for council war efforts, claiming the materials would only be lost to human raids. In the sprawling cities of the Tyrian homeworld, protests filled the streets, demanding to know why the council had started a war with a species they clearly could not defeat. On fringe colonies, local leaders began removing the council's banners, replacing them with their own symbols of independence. Inside the council chambers, the tension was suffocating. Delegates shouted over one another, claws, tendrils, and wings waving in frustration. Reports came in faster than they could be processed. Another convoy gone, another base destroyed, another rebellion sparked. Every attempt to predict human movements had failed. The humans struck when and where they pleased. Ignoring traditional rules of war, the Tyrian delegate stood, her silver feathers dim in the low light. We have no choice, she said. We must open communication and sue for peace before we lose everything. The Trivax representative hissed in rage. Peace, with the creatures that slaughtered our fleets. But even he knew the truth. They had started this war. They had planned to enslave Earth, and now their fleets scattered and their territories bleeding. They were the ones running out of time. For the first time in the Council's long history, they sent envoys not to dictate terms but to plead. For them, special diplomatic ships, painted in the white of surrender, were dispatched toward the Sol system. They carried messages of apology, offers of reparations, and promises that Earth would be left alone forever. Some even offered trade deals that heavily favored humanity, hoping to buy safety with wealth. The humans let the ships approach, but they did not welcome them. In the black void just outside Earth's orbit, the alien envoys were met by a ring of stealth cruisers. Ships did not open fire, but their weapons were armed and ready. The alien envoys sent their messages, speaking of peace and friendship, but no voice answered them. Hours passed in silence before the human flagship arrived. Captain Marcus Hale appeared on their screens, his expression unreadable. The alien envoys launched into their speeches, detailing the Council's willingness to compensate for the war, to return prisoners, to sign binding treaties of non-aggression. When they finished, Hale simply asked, "Why did you think we would?" "Neil," the envoys faltered, exchanging nervous glances. They tried to speak again, but Hale cut them off.
No.
"You came to our home with chains. You fired the first shots. You planned to take our people and break them. Now you come to us, not in strength, but in fear. And you want us to forgive?" He leaned forward, his voice colder than space. "We do not forgive. We remember. No terms were signed that day." The alien envoys were allowed to leave unharmed, but with no agreement, no peace, and no promise of mercy. The Council had offered surrender without a fight. But humanity wasn't interested in ending the war just yet. Back in Council space, the effect was devastating. When the envoys returned empty-handed, alien worlds realized the truth. Humanity was not seeking safety. Humanity was seeking control of the battlefield, and they were winning. Entire sectors went dark as rebellions broke into open revolt. Council fleets that remained loyal were too few to respond everywhere at once. On one distant mining world, Council troops preparing to put down a local uprising found themselves surrounded not by rebels, but by human marines who had landed. In the night without detection, the Council soldiers laid down their weapons before a single shot was fired. They had heard the stories. They knew fighting humans was pointless. Meanwhile, human strategy shifted again. Instead of simply destroying supply lines, they began capturing them intact, redirecting the resources to fuel their own growing fleet. Alien-built warships, once tools of the Council's oppression, were repainted and refitted to serve under human command. With each captured ship, Earth's power grew inside the Council's central fortress. The Speaker of the Council stared at the map of their territories. Once bright with strength, now full of dark gaps where human forces roamed. If they keep this up, the Speaker murmured to no one in particular, there will be nothing left of us to defend. The fear was no longer just among soldiers and commanders. It had reached the highest levels of leadership. Some species began quietly, negotiating with Earth in secret, hoping to switch sides before the humans decided to target them directly. Others withdrew from the Council entirely, declaring neutrality in a war they could no longer influence. For Captain Hale and his crews, this was exactly what they wanted. Council had come to enslave Earth. Now they were the ones divided, desperate, and begging for mercy. And mercy was not coming as Hale stood in the war room. Watching another alien convoy surrender without a fight, one of his officers asked, "How far are we going to push them, sir?" Hale's eyes stayed on the map, his voice low. "That no one, not the Council, not any other species, will ever think of putting chains on a human again." The moment the humans activated their final plan, the galaxy trembled. From every major colony to the smallest mining outpost, every alien who had doubted Earth felt a cold shiver crawl down their spine. Above Earth, the black void of space came, alive with hundreds of enormous human warships, ships so vast they blocked the stars. Their hulls glowed with strange patterns, not for decoration, but as part of some hidden weapon system no alien species could fully understand. The humans had been patient for too long, and now the waiting was over. On the Council's secure channels, the panic was impossible to hide. Messages poured in from every member world. Some begged for peace. Some demanded immediate surrender. Before humanity unleashed whatever was coming, the humans didn't speak. They simply moved their fleets into position, their engines roaring through the void like storms that could tear planets apart. It was not a show of force, it was a statement. Earth was no longer asking for respect. They were taking it. Across the galaxy, military leaders tried to prepare defenses. Planetary shields were raised, battle fleets scrambled into orbit, and every weapon system was armed. But deep down, even the most confident commanders knew the truth no one had ever faced. A fully united human war effort? No one had seen the true extent of their technology, because until now, humanity had never needed to use it. And the few who had glimpsed its power in the past were already dead. The first strike was not an attack, it was a warning. Above a Council-controlled moon, a single human ship fired a strange beam into space. The energy rippled through the darkness, touching no one, destroying nothing. But every alien vessel in 1,000 kilometers instantly shut down. Their engines went cold, their lights faded, and their crews floated helplessly in the silence of space. The humans left them there, drifting, unable to move, staring at the endless void while they waited for rescue. It was a quiet way of saying, "We can end you without firing a single missile," in the Council's emergency chamber. Arguments exploded. Some demanded the humans be destroyed before they could escalate further. Others shouted that fighting them would doom everyone. The fear was raw, now visible in the twitch of hands, in the pale eyes darting toward every shadow in the room. No one wanted to say it out loud, but the truth was clear. The humans were no longer the prey. They had become the hunters, back on Earth's flagship. The human commander sat in silence, watching the chaos unfold across the galaxy through intercepted transmissions. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. There was no joy in what they were about to do, but there was necessity. For too long, the galaxy had treated humanity as something to control, to chain, to use. That era had ended the moment the first human fleet arrived in orbit. With their guns armed and their minds set, then the sky changed. Across hundreds of alien worlds, the blackness above them turned red. Not because of weapons fire, but because the humans had deployed something new, massive orbital arrays that bathed the sky in crimson light. To the untrained eye, it was beautiful. To those who understood, it was a terrifying sign. That light was the signature of a weapon capable of disabling planetary shields and burning through the surface of a world in minutes, and every single array was aimed downward. The message was simple. Humanity could destroy any world, anywhere, at any time. The Council had pushed them too far, and now they were seeing what came after patience ended. The vote to enslave Earth had been the galaxy's greatest mistake, and now, in the red glow above their worlds, they finally understood. Begging for forgiveness would no longer be enough.